Welcome to the Hamlet Podcast. This is the official podcast of the Cheerful Hamlets Student Theatre. My name is Kasia, and I will be hosting today's episode. And my guests today are
Paulina Piórkowska
and
Maria Zawadzka.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. So, ladies, before we begin, can you say a few words about yourselves? So, what do you do in the Cheerful Hamlets, and how long have you been in the group?
Mary, maybe you start. You've been longer in the group.
I've been just a bit longer than Paulina. It's been 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But now I'm not very active, to be honest. Last year when the pandemic hit, I was, I want to say, one of the most motivated to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But then now things have changed, and
Yeah.
I have too many things to participate in most of the projects. But yeah, it has been 6 years.
Yeah, and what have you done in your time in Hamlets?
That's a very difficult question to answer. I don't know. Mostly what I have enjoyed the most was acting, and yeah.
What a shocker.
Can you imagine? I was my favorite bit was when we did Richard III,
Mm-hmm.
and what else?
Have you ever thought of directing?
No, I mean I did thought about this, but it didn't work out because so I wanted to do a 10-minute Hamlet
Oh yeah.
play. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
There were, I think, 10 of you who were supposed to play. And my idea was to make it into a short pantomime, but it didn't work because when we were approaching the premiere, all the theaters were closed.
Yeah. Paulina, can you tell us what do you do in the Cheerful Hamlets?
Well, I began my journey with the Cheerful Hamlets as playing in the play Masquerade. And I was a backstage technician, like in the play. That was my role. So I was painting the wall for the whole 4 hours of the play.
Nice.
So then one
Not
thing,
too demanding.
yeah, one thing led to another. And last year I was the president of the Cheerful Hamlets.
Oh yeah, that's
And Maria Zawadzka was my secretary.
Oh yes, yeah, I was. How about that?
So yeah, I had a pleasure to play in a couple of plays and also direct one and co-direct one.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so the topic of our today's episode is theater in the pandemic. And as we know, when the pandemic hit, many areas of life were affected. Of course, our personal relationships with people, we couldn't see each other, we still cannot see each other so often. Also our jobs, many people lost their jobs, and also our passion projects like doing theater in the Cheerful Hamlets. So what I wanted to talk today about is how the theater and generally performative arts moved from the real world into the internet, and how we managed to do that, how other people also managed to do that. So maybe the first question that I would like to ask you is what were some theater projects that you found online during the pandemic, like theaters doing plays or other activities? Do you remember something that was interesting?
For me, particularly, there was this project which was done by Teatr Polski in Warsaw, and they started to record monologues and short poems, and they put it on Instagram. And that really was something that motivated me, inspired me to do something similar in the Hamlets. because for the longest time I wanted to do something with monologues, and I thought, here we are in the pandemic, where
this is your chance.
Are alone.
because it's very easy to record, and we not to feel discouraged. I think it was the right thing to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And now we'll talk about the more elaborate of our projects. We're expanding the formula.
Yeah.
But I think monologues are really fun to watch because they're very short. And so I watched that. And obviously there are some new plays which, instead of being watched live, they are recorded, and we are seeing them now.
Yeah.
On our laptops. To be honest, I am not very fond of watching the plays in such a way. I think most people who were going to theaters before the pandemic are now just watching films instead.
Yeah, that's true. It's a different experience, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Paulina, did you have something that you remember watching? Maybe in the beginning, I remember in the beginning it was most exciting that people are trying to do stuff online, so we were also interested in watching them.
Yeah, I mostly waited out the first a couple of months actually of the pandemic. I was so discouraged that the theaters were not working, and I might say I had I had a quarrel with the theaters. I was very mad. And then when they began to record the plays and just put them online, and you could watch the play from your couch, as if you were sitting there in the theater, it was very inspiring to see how the whole recording of the play could be such a big project. I mean, staging the play is a big project, but recording is the whole new story.
Yeah.
So I was admiring the whole process. Since we were among the Cheerful Hamlets, we're also thinking about doing some recording of our plays, and we did that in the past. But to have it so fully, so professionally done, it's wow.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we will talk about our projects, of course, but I wanted to maybe ask a couple of questions about those other projects done by other groups or theaters. So what do you think are most common problems of those theater activities or theater plays online? So what discourages, for example, you as the audience and makes you not watch something online?
I think if it's low quality. If it's, for example, filmed from the one perspective, and you have one camera,
you have some expectations, to fully engage, because
that's true, because things like, I don't know, Telewizji Polskiej or some other things like that, they are something between theater and film, right? So you have those different angles, those close-ups that you can really see more than in theater, which makes you want to watch it, actually. And I also wanted to ask you, this is kind of a segue to the Hamlet project. So do you think doing those doing theater online requires a lot of resources, and is it possible to do it in a good quality by an amateur group?
Depends if you ask about the quality of the recording, or do you ask about the quality of the playing?
Everything, because it's, of course, the quality, technical quality, it mostly depends on money, and if you have the equipment to do it. But, it's also, it's different than playing on a real stage. So, does it require something more from, the participants?
I think we, as an amateur group, the Cheerful Hamlets are after an amateur group. I think it wouldn't be as challenging for us, since we stage plays for so long and it's never been a problem. But staging and facing the cameras instead of people, you need a different connection, because you can catch the connection with the audience and just react to their reactions. And when there's no one responding to your lines, And you just don't know if they like it or they don't. What do you do?
Yeah, that's true. The feedback comes much later.
Yeah.
True. Okay, so how about we talk about some specific projects that we did. So, Mary and Paulina, what were your ideas for Hamlet projects in the pandemic?
So mine was Hamlet Minilogs. I called it very spontaneously, but somehow it stayed like this.
That's a very good name.
Hashtag Hamlet Minilogs. So we did, I want to say 2 to 3 minutes of some monologue from a play. It was, I think, mostly Shakespeare, really, because you don't have any copyright issues here. And also, some of you did poems and fragments from prose. Yeah, so we did that. I think, how many were there? About 12, I think.
Yeah, something. Okay, yeah. So this was the Hamlet Milogs idea, and Paulina.
Yeah, I also, as an inspiration, I during the pandemic, I was listening to many audiobooks, actually, and audio dramas, and that's about the time I came up with the idea, why don't we record our own? And it should not be as hard. I mean, we could make it as professional as we'd like, but the very basic version would also be nice, because the audiobooks are usually read just by one person, right? So we began to look for some plays that we could actually make an audio dramas without the copyright issues. And we found one, and we were just at the very end of producing the audio drama. It's based on Mark Twain's story, The Man That Corrupted Hadleyburg. And we've had, I think, about 15 people involved. Besides the cast and besides reading the roles, there's also a task for writing music and having the whole thing like post-production and recording. And I think that it's one of the easier methods of doing something online, since everyone has a microphone. If not on their computers, they could use one on their phones, and the quality is decent, at least.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and the most challenging part is just to put it all together so that it makes sense and it sounds as the whole story as you could hear it and you just imagine it in your head.
On that note, maybe you could tell us something about doing the Irish project.
Oh, the Irish project. Well, it was quite fun. It was a series of recordings of Irish poems, and we did it in collaboration with the Irish Embassy in Warsaw. And it was kind of a poetry reflection project, so we tried to reflect on things that happened also in the pandemic, in the embassy and generally. And we tried to then confront it with poetry and, the messages that are hidden in different poems by Irish writers. What was the hardest part of your projects that you maybe didn't expect?
Communicating with people, because once I was really responsible for the whole project.
Yeah.
For the minilogs. And I had to be the one to tell you to really record it nicely and to be on time with the deadline, and that's the things I'm very scared of in the real life, everyday life of managing something. So I don't feel like that. That was hard for me. When it comes to the general, recording, performing. It was actually easy because I could do it again and again and again. And yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm. And in audio drama?
I think that the hardest part would be to actually have everyone present during the rehearsal. As absurd as it sounds, since we are meeting online, it should be like easy. I mean, we split into so many small projects during that semester that some of us, like you, Kasia, for example, are involved in so many things during the week that you just have to... Actually, we had like previously, before the pandemic, we had just Fridays for the Hamlets and do the rehearsals on Fridays. And suddenly everything became like, okay, on Monday we had this, on Tuesday this, and Wednesday this, and it was the whole week devoted to the Hamlets, and still you have your responsibilities outside of that, right?
True.
So I think that the hardest part would be to have everyone agree, okay, I'm coming, okay, I'll be on time.
True, the motivation is hard to get, and I think it's also, one thing is that it's online, and it's, it's not so... seems like it's not such a big deal when you just aren't there or are late than if you had to be there personally in person. But also I don't know, I think that it's also the pandemic that just people's motivation is so much down. Okay, so these were the hardest parts. What about the easiest parts? So what was like surprisingly easy? You thought it would be more difficult? Was there anything like that?
In general, or are you talking about the project?
The projects.
The projects. Well, as I said, I could, you could redo a monologue over and over again.
Yeah, I think it's a very common thing, because we can record the lines again and again, right?
Yeah.
So, I think...
it's like also nice to see that the quality once you actually record it and do it all right isn't really different from, for example, professional actors, right? They also have their phone in front of them and they are just saying their lines, and of course then the quality of the performance itself might be different, but the technical quality is pretty much the same.
But this option, to re-record something, it's a double-edged sword, because
you can get in a loop and
I have to whenever I have to record something, a monologue, I have to start a week prior, and then because I think I know how it's going, then I press record and then I see it by myself and I want to change everything.
Yeah.
But in order to make it better, I have to wait a couple of days because it's not the best for perfectionists. I don't think I am one, but I really I feel sorry for those who are.
I had this feeling that when you don't see yourself, when you cannot, record it and then see the recording, you tend to think about some issues and some problems, and then when you see it, it comes, it turns out that those problems aren't really so bad, but actually there are other problems that you didn't think about. That was my experience in recording stuff.
Kasia, can I just say that I love your hair today? A short anecdote. I think a month ago I cut my mom's hair, and then I said to Kasia whether she wants to cut or something.
And she felt wild and she said yes.
Yeah, well, I wanted to cut my hair for a long time, but then we were doing another project. I was acting in it, so I couldn't cut my hair for the, whole process of production, because it would be very weird for a character to appear in one scene with long hair and then a couple of scenes later with short. But we met with Maria today earlier, and she cut my hair, and I love it.
Well, thank you. I loved it too. I loved doing it.
I wanted to ask you also about some things, like your general thoughts during the pandemic about stuff that is connected with with theater and with recording, performing, and so on. So. My first thought was that the pandemic made us use our phones and computers even more than before. And we also started to connect with people using cameras and microphones on a regular basis. So how do you think it influenced our perception of ourselves, our self-image, to be on screen and on the camera practically all the time? Does this influence, for example, your acting when you are on camera often, for example, for your classes or for your work?
Yeah, I think it's just connects to the thing I said before, that we're getting used to it. Like, I mean, everyone has to use their cameras. Like, for example, at work or during our university studies and courses, and we just have to do it. So even though we may not like our faces there.
This morning face with no makeup. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. You just end up at the point when you say, "Oh, whatever, I'm just not gonna put my makeup anymore. It's fine." Nobody does that anymore. So I think we stopped having problem with it. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to get used to it, and it doesn't matter as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think it's easier to act on camera because of that?
I wouldn't say it's it's still not easier than doing it live, of course. But when you see your partner in the scene and you see his face, yes, it's definitely easier. Because, you have to play pretend, right? That you're next to each other and just play the scene. But it is easier because you see a human being and then just, his screen name.
Yeah.
So human reactions are very helpful.
I would say that it depends, because if you're doing a monologue and if you have an acting class online, then I think there's a chance you will become more open if you are the person who is more shy in front of some people. Mm-hmm. But acting like with someone, definitely it's better not online.
True. Okay, this one may be interesting for Mary. So, do you think that doing theater online made you get better organized and plan out more of your activities than doing
online? Nothing will make me.
I'm reverse.
Yes, I'm chaotic and I like it. Okay, and I think that
they tried. The pandemic tried, but still.
Do you think it's necessary? For example, as you said, it's sometimes pretty hard to communicate with people and to get them to do stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's just human decency. Because one thing is that one thing is you can be not organized, and that's like your trait. You either are or no. Mm-hmm. But then if someone asks you, and I'm not saying anything specific,
no names.
But I think you can be unorganized and still, there's a deadline. And you just have
to be not organized in your process, but you deliver.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I noticed when I was doing my small project with Irish poems that I think made a schedule for, when everyone needs to send me their recordings and so on. And I had to redo it for 4 times for different reasons. So on one hand, I would say, yes, it's very helpful. But on the other, if you have to reorganize it so much, does it really matter? Okay, so the last question. Which activities, like theater activities, do you think will stay online? And what does doing them online allow that is harder to achieve in person?
Well, I really hope that we will still have, for example, from National Theatre, their plays. Because you don't get many chances to actually travel abroad and buy the tickets and be there yourself. So it's a great opportunity to be still able to watch the plays like that.
Yeah, true.
I hope that it will stay.
Yes, I think it will. I think that equally to having to performing plays, even here in Poland, will be much more often recording them in a very good quality, I hope, with free cameras. Actually, I think a couple of weeks ago I watched a play from Teatr Polonia. It was Pan Jowialski, written by the playwright who did Zemsta.
Fredro.
And the quality was amazing. And that was, I think, done. The production was from a year ago or something.
Wow.
So I think already before the pandemic, Poland had some ideas about that. So I think it will just develop and expand into other theaters.
The good thing about watching the plays from your couch is when you don't like the play, you could just leave. Just press
Nobody gets offended.
Yes.
Also, it's much more cheaper.
Oh yes.
And you don't feel like, sometimes you just, I don't want to say wasted money, but sometimes.
Well, it wasn't worth that much money, and sometimes it happens. Okay, so I think that's all for today. So thank you very much for the conversation, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It was great.
Yeah, and thank you for listening to us. If you want to listen to more episodes of the Hamlet Podcast, you can find us on YouTube and on Spotify. Follow the Cheerful Hamlets on Facebook and on Instagram, and come back for a new episode in 2 weeks' time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.